All right, guys, looks like the whole gang's here. Let's look at a closer look at acne. We talked about the 4 grades of acne. We also talked about their similarities. Um, I also did a recording the other night breaking down the 4 grades of acne and how we need to train our eye to know grade 1 versus grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. Going back, we look at grade 1, papules, open comedones, closed comedones. Some could be allergic reactions. Um, you want to clean, detox those pores, and also proceed with basic maintenance services when it comes to facials. Grade 2, you're looking at even more papules. Okay, so we're talking about have not risen to the top, but even more extractions as well, removing whiteheads, blackheads, things of that nature. You're starting to see a little redness, but you wouldn't so much say inflamed, you may say or sensitized. Okay, and you're starting to see more of those together, more of them together. You're looking at grade 3, you're definitely starting to see patches of red, or they're moving together in a redness, more close papules, more now you're looking at pustels, which now you have pimples. Okay, which pimples come from 2 to 3. Now you have pimples and also blackheads and whiteheads. So you got a lot of stuff going on. Their skin could now start to be sensitized, which means um, different products and things of that nature may cause the skin to react a different way. The skin can be in a sensitive category at this moment. Um, but yes, we need to go with cleansing, we need to go with detoxing, and we need to make sure that we pull, uh, although we're going to pull everything out of the pore, we also need to make sure that we're operating and we're not doing any additional damage. We got to be real careful with our extractions with this particular grade 2 and 3, because you don't want to leave any bruising. And so scarring can begin to take place in 3. Okay, so you want to make sure we're super careful. Don't try to press the limit. Use your steam up to a certain extent, but because you got redness and you may have sensitivity, that steam, hey, needs to shut down between 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, the more steam that you will have will make the skin more sensitized as well. And so it starts to become not just a benefit to the skin, but starts working against you, where you're not able to complete the service because the client feels uncomfortable. All right. Then we're looking at grade 4. So just a combination of everything that we talked about: papules, pustules, milia, open comedones, closed comedones, sensitivities. Now you see it all in clusters. And when it's pustules, we talk about pus field. And so now you got inflammation. You could probably have another form of infection. Okay, there's some oil, sweat, and dirt in some places. So the first thing we do, that may not be all of the issues, but the first thing we do, we need to take care of the most prioritized issues, get rid of all the dirt, clean it as much as possible, and then we'll start extracting. Okay, but and 3 and 4, 3, you're gonna do a lot of work. 4, we are going to, if it's so bad and in groups of clusters, you are going to have to refer it out to a physician, a dermatologist. And then you and that dermatologist can work together and make sure your client is happy, and that, over a period of time, their skin goes back to normal. It looks amazing, better than it did before. All right. And so that's what we have as a recap. Let's take a deeper dive into types of acne. And we want to highlight a few areas. When you are actually saying acne, ACNE, and this is a term, okay? This is a term. I need you to know acne is an inflammatory skin disorder, okay, of the sebaceous glands, period. An inflammatory skin disorder of the sebaceous gland. When you talk about inflamed, you're gonna see redness of the sebaceous gland. All right, sebaceous gland. equals oil gland. Sebaceous glands produce sebum, oil glands produce oil. It's the same thing. Well, I need everybody to know at this moment. I need you to click in your mind, okay? That when you see acne, you need to know we have an oil problem. Does that make sense? When you see acne, pimples, okay? Whether it's grade 1, 2, 3, or 4, whether it's in clumps, in clusters, or whether it's redness, whether it's inflamed, whether it's had pus. When you see acne, even grade 1, you're looking at even in grade 1, you're looking at a minor issue with the sebaceous glands. As you go up to higher grades, that makes the issue more severe. You have a severe issue with the oil glands. So whenever you see acne, it's a skin disorder of the sebaceous glands. That means the sebaceous glands are out of whack. This oil is causing us to have all of this problem. Okay, all of these problems. So as an esthetician, when you see it, no matter what the client is saying, you got to know, that we got an oil problem. How do we get rid of the oil problem? Okay. You do have products, you have cleansers that are catered towards, and when you hear the word clarifying, a lot of times you need to understand that clarifying means clear up. Clarifying is going to come on, it's going to be a great cleanser, but it's going to pull all the oil out that top layer of skin, which leaves your skin most of the time dry, and you have to rehydrate it with another product. Okay. So they all suggest for acne, you want to start with clarifying. Whether it's an oil issue on the scalp, we use clarifying shampoo. If it's an oil issue on the face, we'll use clarifying cleanser. Okay. So first thing, making sure we have clarifying. It is going to start to pull oil out of the surface. So out of those pores. Let's pull the oil out, because when we mix with oil, dirt, and sweat, we start to now get bacteria that causes us to have these pimples and things of that nature. So reduce touching, go ahead, clarify, get everything out of those pores. When you hear me say detox, I am saying clarify, okay? It's just another word. Pull everything out. Remove the toxins. Pull it out, okay? Yes, we know on the other side the pH balance is going to be off, and now the skin is going to be dry. But that's why we have toners. That's also why we have moisturizers. That's why we have serums. And so we go on with our special product to rehydrate the skin. But we have to do what we have to do and pull that oil process, pull that off. Okay. Once we make sure areas are clean, pulled off, we can now start to treat, which means let's go and see, can we do extractions? Let's do what was in our scope, whether it's removing whiteheads or blackheads. Okay, now you're going in and getting the pores that are compact, you're going in and removing that. Okay, and that is simply oil, sweat, and dirt just mixed all together. A lot of it, initially, the acid mantle was put there so we can preserve our skin. All right. And so, yes, our skin needs a level of oil to be maintained. It needs a level of sweat to be maintained. That makes up the acid mantle. Okay. But as we have too much of this being produced, it starts to cause issues. So, having just enough gives you normal skin. Okay. But then having something irregular, something that's irregular, that's adding more to something, more oil or more sweat, now that's causing problems for us. Okay. So, first thing I need you to know, acne is an inflammatory skin disorder of the sebaceous glands. What I want you to get used to is us breaking down the words. We've heard time after time that how do you pass your state board? You need to know what you're talking about. And how do you do that? Know your terms, read your chapter. chapter. I also heard somebody said they did the chapter questions and they really could understand the chapter now. Okay, yes, because you're starting to go through it. And so do never go about your week or never go about your day without looking at something related to your book. You won't have to study as hard if you do this continuously. Okay. And so acne, inflammatory, when you see inflammatory, I think of redness. I think of the word inflamed. So maybe pain. I also see possible signs of infection. Okay, so inflammatory, that's like your skin crying out. It's giving you a warning that something's going on. It's a skin disorder, not a condition, not a disease. So we can service clients who have acne. It's considered a disorder. We're going to make sure we protect us and the client. So the client's going to be draped and we're going to have gloves on. When dealing with acne, that you have pustules. So there's acne grade 3 and 4, where you may have more pus filled pimples, and then especially 4 in clusters. When we're doing extractions, when it gets to 3 and 4, or even some people say in 1, you're gonna put some goggles on. Anybody know why we got the goggles on? Make sure that whatever's in that pore does not get in our eyes, on our mouth, on our skin, on our lips. So you make sure we put those goggles on. Okay. It is an excess sebum production. Okay. Whenever there's an issue with the sebaceous gland, it's going to affect the tinting process for your eyebrows. It's going to affect the lash retention as well. It is also going to affect whether other chemicals, how they work, because the oil tends to coat the hair, and which what usually take 4 minutes for a brow lamination may take a little longer, or the brow lamination or the lash lift won't last that long. So this oil, sebaceous gland, this overproduction of this just becomes an issue for different services that you have to that you offer. So you want to make sure we study and prepare, and we start to cut this down as much as possible. It's the excess oil and dead skin cells can plug pores. The excess oil and dead skin cells can plug pores, creating comedones, papules, pustules, and cysts. Put that in your memory. Of course, every day we have dead skin cells. Our skin sheds. Our skin renews itself every day. Okay. The skin renews itself every day. All right. It says excess oil and the dead skin can plug in the pores. All right. So it clogs in. That's where we want to get unclogged. We want to detox. Okay. Creating comedones. There are whiteheads, blackheads. Comedones are whiteheads or blackheads. So even though you hear the term comedones, open comedones and closed comedones, it's simply another word for whiteheads or blackheads. Okay. What's the difference? Whiteheads, all right, that's the oil and dead skin cells. Sometimes it's fresh, it's in the pore, but it has not been in the pore long. Guess what? They are easier to remove than the blackheads. The blackhead is the oil, excess oil, plus dead skin cells. Okay. They have been in that pore longer. So the longer they're in there, the oxygen from our air, our atmosphere, the oxygen that we breathe, the oxygen causes initially the whitehead to turn black, and it may be brown, to turn black. Okay. When it starts to turn black, it's been there too long. Also, it has gotten comfortable. It'll start expanding the pore. Okay. But the larger that pore becomes, it's like your brain sends a signal to the oil glands produce more. We are expanding, so I guess we should produce more. And when that oil is more of that oil is produced, it's going to sit in that enlarged pore. Okay. And when it sits in that enlarged pore, it's going to take on the temperature, take on the atmosphere, and you have oxidation. So it turns from white to black or dark brown. Okay. And it becomes hard. And so it starts to harden and it becomes harder to remove. This is something you can explain to your clients. This is education that you give. Okay. When they say they need extractions, they need this. Our first ask, is it white? Can you see it or you can feel it? If you can feel it, but you can't see it, it's a papule. Okay. Or if you feel it and it's underneath the skin, you can see it, it's white, but it's still underneath the skin. It hasn't come to the surface, it's just close. That's milia. That means I got some fine bumps. I see the little white underneath, but I don't have a head on it. Okay, that's milia. A lot of times we can do high frequency, a galvanic treatment, disincrustation to bring that what you feel underneath the skin to liquefy it. Okay, and it'll make it come to the surface. Okay, a lot of times your enzymes or chemical peels will help emulsify it also. Okay, so we got to be careful. We got to know comedones, whitehead, blackheads, papules. Papules is going to be what we call bumps, but as estheticians, just change your terms. Papules, they don't have, you feel the bumps, but you don't see anything. There's nothing, it's not a pimple yet, it's not filled with pus. And then there's pustules, which is a papule with pus. And then there's cysts. And when there's cysts that is out of our range, we cannot remove cysts. That's not considered an extraction. Okay. So you have to go to the physician to get that removed, and they're going to remove the actual sac that the cyst is in. That's why, and you may come across blood and other flesh and things of that nature. So even though we have these tools, lancet, dermaplane tools, 10 scalpel, we have so many tools, we're not allowed to cut that cyst and go in there and pull that sac out. That's not in our scope of practice. We should not be doing that. And it's not just fun and giggles. We need to send that person over to a physician. Okay, our tools is not made to handle those type of things. And so bacteria in the follicles, when you have bacteria in the follicles, and I'm going to talk about bacteria in the follicles as it relates to hair growth, you're going to have bad hair, or you're going to have hair that does not grow. It's like it's going to try to come out as far as the root, it'll try, but if bacteria is, there's an inflammation of that follicle, that's not a healthy place for hair to grow. So you have hair not grow in particular areas because of the bacteria or the infection in the follicle. Okay. When you see things like on social media and Instagram, and you see individuals with like an airbrush, right? That they would remember they would airbrush makeup or airbrush tattoos, airbrush nails. Most of the time when you're seeing that, it's called oxidation. So what they're doing, they're trying to force oxygen into the follicles. When you force that oxygen into the follicles, and sometimes they may have a little product that goes along with it, but when they force it into the follicles, bacteria can't grow in there. Okay, so this is why sometimes when you see them do those treatments, part the hair and then blow that airbrush machine into the follicles, and it may be like a liquid vitamin E. It's got to be like a liquid vitamin, good stuff, right? When they do that into the follicle, they're just pushing with air that product into the follicle, and it starts to kill whatever the bacteria in that follicle, and then you'll start to see the hair grows more rapidly. Okay, Same thing when it relates to the skin. People do airbrush the skin. They will have glycolic acid with distilled water. They'll have glycolic acid with vitamin E. They will put, or they'll have salicylic acid with vitamin E, mix it in distilled water, put it in the airbrush machine, go across the face with it. And this is sometimes they call oxidizing, oxidizing the pores. And so when they're going across the pores, especially if this person is a grade 4 acne, when they're going across the pores, they are literally pushing the good stuff into that pore, into that follicle to kill the bacteria. So new hair, new skin can start growing in that area. Who would this help? This is going to help individuals who have clusters of acne, but it also helps, for example, you have males that they have a beard, but it doesn't connect. They have little patches that are gone, or they have some type of hair loss, not talking like alopecia gray, but some type of hair loss. And even if they do have an alopecia, this is one of the treatments that you would add. Okay. And in adding the treatment, many individuals will start to see improved skin and improved hair start to grow in particular areas. Okay. So papillopustule cysts, and it relates to knots. And you hear people say cystic acne. That's going to tell you that a medical professional should be consulted. Okay. One term that we have always seen this chapter, phylosebaceous unit. Okay. It's a term for the entire follicle that includes the hair shaft, the sebaceous gland, sebaceous duct, or canal in the surface. So everything underneath. All right. This is everything underneath. So the phylosebaceous unit. Okay. It is simply everything that's alive underneath. That's the follicle, the hair shaft itself that you see, sebaceous gland, and the ducts, the pores. All right. Um, at that point, we call all of those components a part of the phylosebaceous unit. And then you have sebaceous filaments. Okay. And let's start that term here. Clogged follicles. Follicle is a pore. So clogged pores are caused by many factors, including excess oil, retention, hyperkeratosis. And you may say, Ms. Cox, what's retention, hyperkeratosis? Retention itself is something that's consistent. It shows up. It's consistent. Hyperkeratosis. Keratosis comes from keratin. So this is a condition where your skin overpopulates itself consistently. Okay. So which means you have dead skin building up on top of dead skin, building up on top of dead skin, on top of dead skin. And so you'll find sometimes pigmentation differences. So where all this dead skin starts to build up, that area may be darker than other areas of your face. Okay. With individuals who mostly have PCOS and also they're obese. Okay, they fall into the obesity category. You're gonna find, and don't let it be puberty, don't let it be adolescent hormones, things of that nature. After a baby, any of those additional causes. But most of the time, the high cheek area is darker than the rest of the face. Okay, so even if someone says they don't have PCOS and I see them, they're obese. And I'm not talking about obese as an insult. It's just clinically prescribed obese at a certain age, at a certain weight, they would consider obese. They would actually consider me obese. Okay. That tells me something's going on within the body that has consistently recreation of these dead skin cells to make this area darker than everything else. This is why individuals with PCOS if they can get waxing. Waxing really improves it because it removes not only the hair, but it's going to remove that top layer of dead skin cells. Okay, that top layer and continuation of those dead removal of those dead skin cells. These clients, I would retail with them prep pads. I would retail with them glycolic pads, not retinol. So they couldn't use the skin scripts, but they would be able to use the one from Hale Cosmeceuticals. Because skin crisp pads like glycolic and retinol and with waxing, you possibly could pull you could burn the client and you could pull the skin off. Okay. We just want to remove the dead skin, that the dead cells that are on top, that compile on top. We don't want to remove the skin. So just being cautious of that. Another reason follicles get clogged is that the opening of the follicle may be too small. Okay. May be too small to let impactions out. This is what I want to say. Ultimately, we know acne caused by overactive sebaceous glands. Okay, the more oil that's produced, that pore starts to expand. So now you have people that will say after the extraction, I want to get rid of these enlarged pores. A lot of times you put product on that would contract the skin, tighten the skin back up so the pores they shrink. Okay. You don't want them too small, the oil and dirt can't get out. Okay. But you also don't want them large because too large, you compact more oil and dirt. So you got to find a way to keep it in the middle. But I always tell anyone, if you're going to do extractions, you're going to follow behind extractions with a high frequency treatment. The high frequency treatment is going to contract those pores. And so whereas your client will look to the side and you can see the pimple, you can see that protrude from the skin. Once you remove the extractions, dry that particular area, I'm going to come back and put my high frequency on it. And that high frequency one is those rays are going to tighten that pore area. By this time tomorrow, you will go back and rub and look like, where was it? Where did it go? Oh, this right there, but it's nowhere as big as it was yesterday. And so that high frequency helps tighten the pores, bring it back to its normal size, okay? And then reduce bacteria, so on and so on. So if you're going to do extractions, I say come back behind it with the high frequency. You got to treat it. You got to close it up. Nobody wants to walk around with these protruding bumps on their face. Okay. So it's going to also help the skin texture by stimulating the blood circulation in that area. Here we go. Comedo. Let's talk about types of clogged pores. Comedo. For one, comedones, if you got more than one, okay? Non-inflamed buildup of the cells. So you ain't seeing no redness. You're not seeing the person saying they don't have no pain. They just got a whole lot of debris, whole lot of just stuff just on their nose or on their cheeks, okay? You can find them on whitehead or blackhead. How will we treat this particular person here? I want to soften the skin first. And we do that with steam or hot towels. Remember, steam or hot towels. Once you soften the skin, that extractor tool will gently press on the skin and it's going to come up. But when you don't soften the skin, like you just try to, wherever you are, you just try to pull it out, it becomes hard. Okay. Maybe a little more difficult. Maybe a little more difficult for you to pull out, a little difficult for you to extract. Now you have redness, possible scarring, because you may be just pressing and doing too much. So it's good to soften the skin. with steam or hot towel. When we see a person like this, we be ready to go. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get all this. Okay. We're going to get all of that. Open commodore is a blackhead. Closed commodore is a whitehead. It's just, remember, open commodore. It's a blackhead and it has started to oxidize. That's how it got black. So it's open and receiving elements out of the atmosphere. Okay. So that should be easy to remember. Blackheads are open comedones because they have received the oxygen and now they are settled in. So blackheads need a little bit more work, a little bit more time. Whiteheads are closed comedones. We're going to have a quiz about that. Whiteheads are closed comedones, all right? It is hard white type of papule, amelia, okay? You can see the white spots. When we did the microdermabrasion, guys, most of the time you will see milia on the forehead or on the chin area. You're going to make sure when you see this that, yeah, I know 2 spots I'm going to make sure I microderm really, really good, okay? Because what you start to do is clean up. And remember, you start with a dry skin. So you're going to start to clean up and clear up, mold over those areas to minimize those whiteheads. Sebaceous filaments, open comedones, we talking about blackheads, solidified impactions, which means the oil, sweat, and dirt inside that we call blackheads starts to harden and it sits there. Okay? And often found on the nose. When you have a lot of them, especially when you see the blackheads, y'all, let's go ahead and get rid of them because it could really be the beginning of more acne. It's the beginning of a pimple and things of that nature, especially if you're adding bacteria with your hands, you're not using your gloves, and then you're outside or working in a warehouse, you work outside, you're adding so many different elements and you're not cleansing your face, you barely wash your face, you can guarantee you're probably going to see some pimples. Okay. It says newborns can sometimes get milia, that's whiteheads at birth or shortly thereafter. They resemble small sesame seeds and are almost always perfectly round. Okay. They can get it around the eyes, cheeks, and forehead. Can also be called the blocked follicle openings from oil-based moisturizers. Can we talk about that? Okay. Let's see. Yeah. If you could take this note down, screenshot it, say, Ms. Cox, I'm going to come back and read it. Milia, whiteheads, okay, closed comedones, can also be caused by blocked follicle openings. That means that the pore is blocked and whatever's supposed to come out cannot come out because of this heavy coating that is on top of the skin. Now it says milia can also be caused by blocked follicle openings from oil-based moisturizers. This is why I tell you my favorite moisturizers, no matter what the brand, is going to be something light and fluffy. In all cases of you performing a facial, nothing you should be doing should be contributing to the cause of whiteheads, blackheads, different disorders of the skin. Nothing. So when we talk about doing a basic facial, we are also mindful of our moisturizers. We're mindful of our masks. We're mindful of our oil serums because you don't want to use something that is causing you to have the issue. And then you're never getting rid of the issue because you keep seeing it over and over again. That's on the esthetician. not being aware, not studying, not catering to the client's needs. When you think everybody is just the same and I'm going to do the same for everybody. It's not the same for everyone. All right, let's do some examples. How many people have used petroleum jelly, Vaseline? Okay. Just think about it. Think about it. That petroleum jelly, Vaseline, is thick. When you place it across your skin, everything underneath, well, I should say this, every hair you see has a sebaceous gland contracted to it, connected to it. As the hair grows, as it feeds, it's going to come out of the pore. But also, what lubricates that hair in the hair root, in that follicle, in that house, is going to be the oil that comes from the sebaceous gland. It goes, it's connected to the gland. So every time you touch a hair or you touch a person, you cause that oil to be released in the pore. That oil is released into that pore. It coats the hair, and the hair starts to grow out with this nice shine. It's everything Mother Nature ever wanted you to have related to your hair. It starts, that's what it comes out. It produces gray hair. Okay? If it comes out, coats the hair, then it travels to the surface of the skin to be removed, but it's continuously doing the same routine over and over and over again. If you are putting, example, petroleum jelly across that pore, across that follicle opening, you are simply pushing something into the pore when something is trying to come up out of the pore. Now, what do we have? A whole derailment, a whole accident, a whole bacteria infection, a whole pimple waiting to happen. Because what needs to come out cannot come out. And then you have put that petroleum jelly across, and now it's almost like, oh my goodness, we're stuck. That petroleum jelly ain't moving nowhere. You just packed the pores with that petroleum jelly. So now you do have an issue. So that's why I tell people, instead of petroleum jelly, sometimes I use the A&D ointment, which has conditioners and healing properties for the skin. It is thinner than the petroleum jelly. So we should keep some A&D ointment, and petroleum jelly should just be kept where it is. Once you learn about it, you can tell people, okay, you may need petroleum jelly on your feet, your hands, maybe, but never the face. Never the vagina area. Never any areas where you're going to be waxing. Okay? We do not want to cause bacteria in these intimate areas. So we're going to make sure it's no Vaseline. You want a treatment oil cream, and you're going to use maybe A&D. It's my favorite. It's a baby cream, but it emulsifies, it breaks down, and it's healing properties to the skin. So replace your Vaseline. I can't tell you what to do, but it'll be great if you replace your Vaseline with A&D ointment. Okay? And it's less clogging and more healing to the skin. You may say, Ms. Cox, I still don't understand. Let's talk about lashes. Okay? So when you put the lash on, you're not supposed to put the lash on the skin. If the lash is on the skin, that means the adhesive starts to close and cover up that pore. Whatever's in there can't come out. And then because you have put it on the skin, you have blocked whatever's supposed to come out. So now we see clients that come to us, they say, oh, it's painful in one little area, and then that area is swollen. Simply the oil, sweat, and dirt that was supposed to come out daily, that we wash off, that we bathe off, can't come out, and it's just producing more and more and more in an area that's causing your client discomfort. Okay? And so now that area has become dirty. You have to get it cleaned up. Okay? So we want to make sure Even though, whatever your nana and stuff used to use petroleum for, that's fine. But you have to understand that when you put that over those small pores, you are blocking stuff that needs to come out. And now you just have a derailment. You just block the pores, nothing can come out. And what needs to come out is traveling up and discovering we can't get to the surface. So everybody start to sit there, and over a period of time, days, you can start to see outbreaks in that area, pimples, the itchiness. Okay, so you'll start to see some different things going on, and it's just your body giving you some warning. Let's look at treatment of milia, which is whitehead. And this is why the dermabrasion is important. It's increasing exfoliation. So when we talked yesterday about double exfoliation, can somebody in the chat, what do we talk about as related to double exfoliation? You can do what and what together to help the skin. Go to the chat. Double exfoliation. It was a practical day. What do we talk about? Yeah, yeah. Double exfoliation was dermabrasion and the lemon peel. Raquel did it yesterday. That was double exfoliation. I think Ashley, you did it too. You had machine and you had product. That's a double exfoliation. So to get rid of milia, which is closed comedones, you gotta, it wouldn't hurt to increase your exfoliation. There's so many different types of foliation. You have chemical exfoliation, that's your chemical peel, and that's your enzyme. You have mechanical exfoliation, that's your dermabrasion machine. And then you have your manual exfoliation. That in itself is simply your scrub that you put on your hands, you put on the face, and you start rubbing it around in circles. Those are the three types of exfoliation. So when getting rid of milia, all right, whiteheads, little bumps, you may want to side note, increase exfoliation. You may need more exfoliation than before, than the next person. Okay. You're going to use your extractor tool to get as much as you can, then just increase your exfoliation as you go. Okay. Retention keratosis. Let's look at this definition. Remember what retention is and hyperkeratosis. Okay. Hereditary factor, which means you could get this from your mama. Okay. Your mama, your dad. Somebody had an issue with dead skin cells. Okay. A hereditary factor in which dead skin cells build up because they do not shed from the follicles as they do on normal skin. Normal skin builds up and may fall down. Okay. Hyperkeratosis, I told you, continue to build. And it's the keratin, it's the dead skin that continues to build. Mainly, people don't get rid of this until they come to you. They need to come to an esthetician. Okay? You need to soften that and you need to remove it. Most of the time, you can do the steamer. I've seen people use, it's been so hard, they've used lancet and some sandpaper to smooth it over. That's how hard it was. Okay? Your skin on your face should be the softest skin on your body. So think about that hyperkeratosis, that growing of that dead skin cell more and more and more. All right, we got an issue. Okay. You won't see these in flames, but it could turn into acne. So you want to get that taken care of. Okay. So make sure we look at that. That's oil mixed with dead skin cells. Okay. That's clogging up the follicle. If this chapter ain't the most important chapter, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Sebaceous hyperplasma, plasia. Okay. Let's highlight that term. Involves benign lesions frequently seen in the oilier areas of the face, often white, yellow, or flesh colored. Okay. Sebaceous hyperplasma. So we're talking about a benign lesion. Okay. And you know that the lesions are primary, secondary, and tertiary lesions. These two are connected. Okay. It's a donut shaped with an indentation in the center. So when you see this, it looks like a donut. Okay. Sebaceous material may be found in the center. It says a cell turnover rate slows with age. Here's what I want a keynote I want you to look at here. This is not an old growth of skin. Okay. This is your cells not turning over as much as it should, but as you continue to age, when you cut your hair does not grow back as fast when you age. As you age, also your skin does not repair itself as fast. So this is why you have clients who are um, senior clients or they're aging. They want products like rejuvenation. They want products that say cell repair because that's going to increase their skin to increase their body to produce new skin. Okay. They're always chasing this miracle in a bottle, the best product to do this, the best product to do this. Baby, a great diet and water. Okay, that is going to be their product to do this, along with coming to see you on a regular basis. All right, so Maria is looking at that. We're looking at our terms. Severe oiliness of the skin, abnormal secretion from the sebaceous glands. All right. We sometimes see this connected to dermatitis. Okay. And when you have these two right now, if you was to see this around the hairline, it'll be oily. It'll be oily and it may smell. Okay. Um, it can also, when you look at dandruff is called pityriasis. I'm gonna put that in the chat, just so you know. Okay. Dandruff is called pityriasis. There are many types of pityriasis. Okay. Um, there's a byproduct of oil and dead skin together, and it creates something. I think it's scutula. Okay. It creates something where, have you ever seen someone that they have dandruff and you have to take a comb to their scalp and lift it up? Okay. And that's in that family. But what happens, you have the condition of dry skin, and then you have the condition of overactive sebaceous glands. So you have all that extra oil with all of this dry skin. And so now the dandruff has a texture to it. It's not just dry and flaky, it has a texture to it where it may look like wax. Okay, it may look like wax. And so you take your comb and it probably sits and hugs the scalp. So you'll need to remove it from the scalp. All right. That is soberia, and it's associated with dermatitis, and which could also be called dandruff. We have a lot of names, but they the same thing. Okay. Some people could misidentify this as acne. It is not acne. It is not an overgrowth of dead skin cells, so it's not hyperkeratosis. It is simply an excess of oil with an excess of dry skin come together. Y'all, if the client it does not clean the skin, does not shampoo the hair where you see this at, it could cause hair loss and infection. All right. Who may be the ones you have to educate about this? Your clients you service that wear lace wigs. And they always in a lace wig. They always in a sewing. They always in something because you notice they don't let their hair breathe, or you notice that when they lay on the table, their hair smells a little. Okay, it's coming from the wig. That tells me that they don't shampoo their hair often, and then that's an area where bacteria can grow. And so when you have on like a wig attachment, it is dark underneath that cap. Okay, how the bacteria grow, it has to be in an environment. Okay, that environment has to be dark, dirty, damp. Most of the time, when you have a covering over your head a lot, you can feel your scalp damp. Okay, it's already dark underneath, and then it's building dirt. So once those three components come together, dark, damp, and dirty, you're going to have bacteria growth. Okay, this is why you tell your clients to change the insoles of their shoes. This is why you tell them when they have favorite basketball shoes, you leave them outside because it's a haven for bacteria. This is why people who didn't change their mask or wore a mask all the time, especially the cloth mask, they wore it all the time. And that mask built up bacteria of oil, sweat, and dirt was a great environment for bacteria to grow. And you had individuals saying, oh, I developed mask acne during COVID, during the pandemic. Mask, MASK, acne. And so you didn't have acne probably before, or you have a more enhanced acne around the area of the mouth to the ears. And that's because you probably had one of those customized masks that you probably paid $15, $20 for, especially if you like football, because I bought one. And I had to start wearing it because I noticed my skin would just break out when I wore it. And I didn't wash it at that time. I was just putting the mask on. The people said put the mask on. But the best mask is gonna be those disposable ones. All right. It's gonna be those disposable ones. So make sure we're out of the clear. We're gonna prepare, we're gonna look at this, and then I'm gonna move over to lash extensions. Okay. Just a recap on the grades of acne. We don't know anything. We know the grades of acne. Page 134 in your ebooks. Make sure you have a note. I want you to be able to tell me about each form of acne. Okay. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. And I'm gonna say this. Give me 4 index cards. Grade 1 on the front, description of it on the back. Grade 1 on the front, description of it on the back. We'll probably do this in class on Friday. And so for the students that don't come in on Friday, just bring it in on Monday. It's going to be an index card. You're going to need 4 index cards. And you have the grades on the front and the description on the back. You can simply read page 134 and you'll get there. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Any questions? Okay, I want to look at this here. Acne triggers. What causes acne? This is your, everybody should be reading this chapter. Even if you're going to graduate, 4 is going to be a chapter I always go back to. Okay. Because you're going to have a lot of clients come to you because they have skin problems. And so, what triggers acne? Learn them so you can talk and educate your clients about it. Y'all, sugary snacks, milk, lactose, a lot of times the milk can trigger acne as well. It says genetic, hormonal, environmental, lifestyle, certain products, your diet influence, all of those can cause acne breakouts. So it's a variation of different things, okay? But this is going to help you with your consultation. Since doing a consultation, you ask questions for each of these subjects and learn more about them so you're listening, okay? And then you will turn around and educate your client on things that may be the trigger to the acne. I know my trigger to eczema, okay, is sometimes worry and or introducing my skin to a new body wash or something of that nature. So that's why I stay real plain Jane. Um, when you're educating them about acne triggers, be honest. That's the only thing you can be honest. And here's the statement, famous statement. Help me help you. If they're putting something in their body, which is the major cause of their skin being this way, I'm gonna have to charge you more because you're not respectful of my opinion. It tells me you don't trust my opinion. Also, it says you're gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna have to fix the same thing. So the more I have to fix something, your service are gonna be more expensive. When I can tell you to do something, don't take a whole lot. You're not going to see an upcharge. Okay. But a waste of my time, I do not do because I know time you cannot get back. So if clients are not going to commit, okay, if they're not going to be honest, I don't want to even build a relationship with them. All right. I need them to be able to commit and be honest. So genetic, hormonal, environment, lifestyle, certain products, and diet influences. You eat a lot of snacks. Don't put any protein in. So not only is you got acne, but you got a lack of vitamin C, vitamin E. Your iron could be through the roof, all kind of stuff, or it could be very low. Products, of course, your lifestyle, how you living, environment, maybe your work, and then what we cannot control, hormonal or genetic. Okay, those are some factors that may cause acne breakouts. Genetics, puberty, family line, you get it from the family. It's DNA. Treatment for genetic influences. Okay, you're going to the doctor. We have creams you can do holistically, or you can go to a physician. Hormones, okay, whether we're pregnant, trying to be pregnant, whether you're on some form of birth control. Y'all, sometimes the birth control has a side effect that causes you to not only gain weight in certain areas, reduce your cycle in certain times, but also cause you to have breakouts. Hormone replacements, all of that. Testosterone balancing, all of that can have side effects of issues. Okay, menstrual cycle out of whack, not consistent. You can have issues with a breakout. Once those issues are treated, and even with the eczema, when I try to trick myself that I'm not worried, my mind says, my body says, my nervous system, my brain say, you can smile for them on the outside, but I know what's going on the inside. This is why it's good to let it out, because when stress and worry enters the body, holistically, spiritually, it starts to attack the healthy genes, that the healthy organs. Okay. And so it'll sit in places like your joints, and it'll be hard for you to move and walk and things of that nature. And all of a sudden you found yourself sick. So we need to turn around, make sure we're smiling, make sure everything is all good. This not only helps our mental, but it is helping the insides of our bodies as well. This is where you're going to get nosy. So, yeah. Treatment for hormonal influences. You're going to have particular home products. And like I stated before, anything that has like salicylic acid is going to help you with acne, okay, pimples especially. Um, Things, you change your exfoliation, okay? You do right here, dermabrasion, chemical peels, enzymes. I was just talking about that earlier, all right? Those are treatments for issues that will trigger acne. Those are treatments. Salicylic acid will fall into the same category as a chemical peel because they are initially acid based. All right. And then you have environment. Okay. Humidity, being outside, y'all know it's getting hot, so putting that sunscreen on, but blocking the sun from even hitting your skin, putting a hat on. Okay. And the cowboy hats, are very popular. Go get you a cowboy hat and sit on the beach. And you're going to block that sun ray. You're going to, if you're in the pool in your backyard, you're shopping. Some people do have heat rashes, and some people can have heat strokes. So make sure a lot of times before something majorly happens, your body has given you a signal that something's wrong. Okay. So you got to make sure that you test your environment. Okay. Treatment for environment influences. I'm going to get the best of the best facials that are going to detox. It's going to pull this stuff off my skin. I need to improve how my skin looks, how it feels. All right. Going forward. Of course, lifestyle. For those that can afford certain things, they can afford certain things. Also, we look at adrenal glands, okay? And you have many glands also that can be produced, but we look at adrenal glands as well, where that enjoyment comes from, where that hyperness, that excitement comes from, or the opposite. Treatment for lifestyle influences. Um, every Sunday should be pillowcase day. Okay, if your clients are not changing the sheets on a regular basis, that's an issue. If you are not you fall asleep on the couch all the time and your face just happens to fall asleep in that one area and you're starting to see a breakout in that particular area, you need to switch it up or you need to wash that fabric. Pillowcases weekly. And I had a student one time that said, we don't have a wash and dry. Okay. The student came back and said the next week, Miss Cox, when we went washing, I remember what you said, and I haven't been itchy anymore. So I'm gonna try to tell my mom every Sunday, I need to change my linen. That was amazing. And this young lady was maybe 20, 21 years old, and no one had literally taught her about hygiene, okay, and keeping things clean and free from bacteria. It hasn't been taught, and sometimes you are your client's first teachers. And so, of course, we look at cosmetics and skincare products. There are products that have ingredients that cause issues with your skin. Know your ingredients. Simple as that. Okay. None of the oils we use is comedogenic. All right. None of the oils that we use are comedogenic. They do not draw bacteria. And the oils are easily manipulated. And so it's received into the follicle or into the pore more quickly, does not cause any harm. Okay. And so you got to know your oils, got to know your other ingredients to make sure that the products you're using is not the ones causing you to have the breakouts. Treatment for product irritation, of course, educating yourself when it comes to makeup brushes, whether the hair that it's made up of, only one per client. You're not going to be able to use that brush repeatedly. For me, I have to get a new sponge every time I put on some makeup. I thought I could pass by last week, and a couple days later, I had irritation from those brushes on my face. Okay. So even when it comes down to the diet, we'll talk more about that, but no processed foods, Y'all, this is going to be one you will educate and have your, this is it. This is why they need to help you help them. An increased number of studies are linking food allergies and sensitivities to acne. Foods with higher glucose intent, sugar, processed foods, heavy iodide content. All right, got a lot of color into it. We know red 5 is not good for us. And you can find that in Fantas. You can find that in your Cheetos, hot Cheetos, your Takis. That red number 5 is not good. Even it's not even good for kids because it can cause hyper ADHD or other behavior disorders could be a foundation of that, and also can have health issues when you're trying to exert the waste in your body. All right, so you can have health issues as well. So fast food, all dairy. So this is why I say, do you drink any milk? I'm looking for dairy. Okay. Do you what's your favorite soda? If they tell me something with color, they got a high oxidized content. If they tell me their favorite food is McDonald's, you already know. If they tell me they love a lot of candy, it's a lot of sugar. All right. So all of these can spark acne. It can be a trigger for acne. Okay. And sensitivity, sensitive skin. The treatment, get your nutritional dietitian, but more so you want to eat healthy. Okay. You want to eat healthy. On your own. Oh, this is a lot. We may talk about this in class tomorrow, particularly when we talk about birth control. Really, the effect of what some drugs have on the skin. For one, looking at just birth control or medication, we know it's not oral now. You can get it oral or injection. Okay. Um, these are medication used to regulate the androgen hormones that impact oil production. All right. Irregular periods, weight gain, cramps, impact oil production. So your client could really fall into it does more oil, okay, adds more oil. And so you want to know, are you on birth control? Some people, you might have to break it down. You might say, are you guys using any contraceptives to not get pregnant? You got to find a way to break it down because some people just don't know. Okay. Looking at red A, causes redness, photosensitivity, irritation, very drying. Can be it's amazing for the skin. It's a great peeling agent. They use it in acid peels, in some acid peels. But y'all, we need to really make careful. One contraindication is if a person's using this topically, you cannot do the waxing service. All right. And we'll learn about that as we go. Considerations for medicated acne treatment. So many things. We are going to discuss the treatment for acne, and also we're going to discuss the acne treatment itself. So some of the ingredients. I did want to hit on PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, a hormonal condition that affects 1 in 20 women in their childbearing years, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Okay. This consists of symptoms include increased androgen production, okay? The overabundance of certain things that causes the development of cysts on the ovaries. The cysts create irregular menstrual cycles and difficulty with childbirth, all right? Clients with PCOS are insulin resistant and have challenges with weight loss. It's most people, 1 in 20. Sleep apnea is a symptom. Remember, we don't diagnose, but you can ask your clients about their sleeping patterns, okay? If they feel like they snore or cannot get any sleep, it could be moment of PCOS as an early symptom, but we cannot discuss. They should go see the gynecologist, okay? Says the esthetician will work with the client who has PCOS because these symptoms include acne. So those individuals that have PCOS, one of the symptoms could include acne. Okay, so now they're having these breakouts, irregular periods and breakouts. Thinning hair in a male hair growth pattern of baldness. So their hair thin doesn't really just go bald, it just starts to thin. Okay, the density of the front and top of the scalp, which means where it used to be real full and lined up, the hair is thin in that area. All right. And also the thinning could be at the top of the head. You can see the same thing in women as well, where the hair, the edges are not as full as they used to be, and they got some thinning in the top of their heads. Okay. That's androgenetic alopecia. And most of the time, it comes from behavior or something going on with a medication. All right. So letting your clients know if you're taking medication or if you have PCOS, there's nothing we can possibly do to bring that back, but it's something going on within your body that is causing your hair or your skin to do this. It causes abnormal hair growth. This is what I wanted to do. So most clients that have PCOS will have some that may have some hair on their chin. Okay, may have some hairs underneath the chin, may have hair that grows excessively on the lip. You got to do lip waxes, okay? And this person may also have hair on their chest. So in the middle of the breast area. So these individuals, when you see this, yeah, you can wax that, but that's not considered normal for women to have hair in the breast area. So when you do see that, that's something you can wax, but you need to also suggest your clients go get checked out. All right. It says clients with PCOS may feel self-conscious about their body image. So you are considered literally that closest person to them that they let see their body that no one else sees. And so we have to make sure that in this field there's integrity. Okay, there's a private. So if you have to say this is a safe space, you have to say that. Okay, people should be comfortable with sharing your information, knowing you're not going to share with anybody else. All right, and so once you build that integrity and that rapport with a client, you'll always have a client, always. All right. Most of them are ashamed of body images. They can't lose weight. They're complaining of breakouts. They're just not their best right now. All of those things are symptoms and things for you to look at to detect if a client is definitely PCOS. You cannot diagnose, but you can say, I need you to check this out so we can confirm some things to move forward with your treatment plan. Okay. It's a condition that is cured, but symptoms can be managed. And here's the thing, when you're younger, they say they don't want to move anything. They don't want to move anything. But when you get older, you have to move. So a lot of times I'm campaigning against, if you're seeing something as a younger age, just go ahead and try to get it treated, because as they get older, check your research, they may have fertility issues. They may not be able to have children. Okay, so it may be a lot of issues connected to that. So when we see young girls, when the parents give us that first heads up, or even someone in their low 20s to mid 20s, hitting 30, and they've had these issues, I find so many individuals 25, 30 years old that's never been to the gynecologist. So let's start there first. Because a lot of people take what we say and make it real, but let's start there first. Let them come in with the issue, and then we will jump back in with them. Okay. Same thing goes for my lash specialist as well. So I'm going to stop share for a minute. We're going to pause for the calls. Um, let's do a roll call one more time. Let's do a roll call one more time. Put your name in the chat, please. Let's do roll call. Put your name in the chat. All right. Thanks, Ashley, for still being on. Thanks, Tanaya. Thanks, Danielle. All right. Roll call. Who is iPhone? Is that Maya or is that Jewel? All right. All right. Is that Maya? Is that Jewel? I'm going to keep going. If it was Maya, we'll jump over to Lash a little sooner. More about PCOS. So it's a condition, it's cured, but symptoms can be managed. All right. Birth controls can help regulate the sex hormones, and androgen blocking medication can help control hair growth and acne issues. So you're going to have to go see a physician, okay? Performing hair removal treatments with waxing or laser services can help unwanted hair stay under control. So we definitely, individuals with PCOS, we want to retain them as clients, okay? Skincare treatments using ingredients that influence the formation of comedones keep the stratum cortium thin. All right, we want that to be a little thicker. So we want to make sure we're not using products that are causing us to have blackheads, whiteheads. Okay, so we want to cut the products out. Only make sure you're using things that really, really work. This is my favorite quote, and we're going to get ready to move forward. Treatments that influence acne breakouts like microdermabrasion, high frequency, and an ultrasonic skin scrubber are helpful. Okay. So when you have clients with acne breakouts, especially PCOS, that microdermabrasion, we did that yesterday, key. If somebody gonna buy you something, they need to buy you a dermabrasion machine. Especially for people of color where you know your keratin builds itself more. All right. High frequency and ultrasonic scrubber. That's the scrubber that goes across the face. It sends radio technology down to the layers of the skin, and it starts as a wave, and it starts to push whatever's deep into the skin to the surface. Okay. And so in treating acne, you're going to see more microdermabrasion machines out, more high frequency machines out, and more scrubber machines out. Very, very helpful. So that means anytime I add a machine, my facial has now deluxed. It's now come up another level. Okay. So you got to know how to use them. That's why we went in with microdermabrasion. Friday, we'll look at the high frequency and the scrubber. All right. And so these are going to be great tools to help you see and your clients see better results faster. All right. Of course, we have other alternatives with products. So you're going to be a little more vigilant on the products you order and using your clients because you're going to be checking the ingredients. And we only want to use stuff that works. We do not want to use stuff that because of she got it, I think I should get it. It may not work for you. It may not work for your clientele. Okay. All right. The rest of the chapter, we're going to get you guys to continue reading. We're going to close on identifying pigment disorders. Okay. Hyperpigmentation and hypopigmentation. All right. Hyperpigmentation is the overproduction of pigment, the overproduction of melanin. Hypopigmentation is a lack of melanin. Okay. You have your melanin starting to draw back. So now you have what we call white spots. Hyperpigmentation, you have more melanin in a particular area. They usually call this dark spots. And so pigmentation issues, sometimes your clients are not cookie cutter, falling on one side or the other. They may have a combination of other things going on. Okay. One thing you guys need to know, the first time when we talk about dark spots or light spots, I'm asking about medications. I'm also asking about any topical creams that they are putting on their skin. All right. Here's the thing. The items on the shelves that say, hey, they take care of dark spots and pigmentation issues and things of that nature, they're topical. Unless it drives into the different layers of the skin, there's no way it can make changes in the pigmentation of the skin. The pigmentation of the skin is 3 to 4 layers underneath the skin you actually see. In order to break up a dark spot, you got to be able to penetrate a product down multiple layers of skin. And a lot of times you have great ingredients that do work to take care of dark spots, to break up dark spots. But commercialized product and on a shelf, you'll have a small percentage of that ingredient. And as long as you're using it, it starts to look like it's working. But once you stop using it, you hadn't did anything. Okay. The problem returns. So to fix these things, how we need to fix them, we start to source out major ingredients of products that are highly concentrated, put on the skin, such as creams, masks, oils, serums, whatever. Put on the skin, and we use things like high frequency. We'll use things like galvanic frequency. And what it does, it causes the skin to soften, and it causes the pathway to where the color is to open up. And those signals, that strength in those electrotherapy tools pushes product down to start the breakup of those dark spots. So when your clients tell you they use this for this, they use that for that, they need to commit to not using that while we're treating your skin. While I'm treating your skin for hyperpigmentation, I need you to stop using what you're using at home. I only need you to use at home what I'm using. Because if I'm doing something and you're trying to come back and do something else, we're not showing any results. What you're doing is interacting and blocking what I need to do. So they just need to buy the retail from you, create your systems, your treatment, and move from there. This is also why chemical peels have been so popular, because once they're on the skin, it starts to soften and break up that top layer of skin. Even though you may do a frosting on the face and neutralizing on the face. So you wipe off the chemical peel, but that product has already gone deeper into the layers of the skin. As it begins to go deeper into the layers of the skin, you'll see those new layers start peeling away. That's that old skin. It'll start to push up and immediately start to peel away. Okay. On the board tomorrow, I need to show you where the melanin is. And a lot of times, the only way you can get there is concentrated, rich ingredients with electrotherapy. Something you got to plug up that's going to give you some electricity so you can push product down. Okay. You can do chemical exfoliation, which is your acid chemical peels, your microdermabrasion. A lot of times people do not need chemical peels. They just need to get rid of a lot of their old dead skin cells. That's where your microdermabrasion come in, what the machines we use. They will go across and pick up that first layer of deep dead skin cells. And you do see after treatments for a few weeks that, okay, we're looking good. One may ask, Ms. Cox, how do we use this and put this microdermabrasion machine in treatments? Yeah. Some clients can't come once a month. Some clients have issues that you really got to tackle. You can say, okay, I need you for 2 weeks to come and do a manual facial, a basic facial, but I'm going to include the microdermabrasion every week. So that's that I'm trying to get something to you really fast, okay? They're going to take product home to continue to do the maintenance. The next time I see that client is 2 weeks from that. I'm going to see how well their skin did. I may need to do another dermabrasion, okay? And I'm going to reschedule the client to come back for 2 weeks. After that, I will probably see the client once a month, all right? And do microdermabrasion as needed because you should be on a good routine now. And if you look at those weeks, that's about 7 to 8 weeks, okay? And so that's about 2 months of really tackling their skin, prepping their skin, setting the tone. And so once I got that together for about 2 months, I may go in and do a light chemical peel that will raise up and do the rest of the job. And so you're not going to get rid of dark spots in one session. Depending on what you have and what you got and what your client skin can take and what their budget is, it's going to be a progress. Okay, it's going to be a progress. So we're going to pick up on pigmentation. We're going to talk about it Friday, which is what, tomorrow. We'll talk about it Friday. I do have someone who's bringing a client. If you guys want to work and practice some of the services that you have learned, I don't mind if you bring a client or work on each other tomorrow. We are probably going to be in class to 1, okay? So you can get started as early as 10 to 1, but we are going to recap on a lot of hands-on. And for those individuals that are graduating, I do want to introduce you to the high-frequency machine and dermabrasion again, along with the scrubber. Okay, since they have mentioned it in the chapter, I think you need to go ahead and learn different details about each one. All right. Y'all have a blessed and amazing day. I see you in the building tomorrow. Be safe, stay cool. And remember, this is graduation month, and I'm so excited. Continue countdown. I see 2 chats. Let me go over to the chat. Yes. And I hope you guys are learning a lot. My goal is to make sure you get what you need. Even after graduation, you still family. So if you are having difficulty understanding something, jump back in. Jump back in. We want you to be the most successful person that you can become. Okay. So let's go. Stop and share. I'm also stopping live stream. For those that joined us via the live stream,